Hey guys, I'm a student journalist here. I
Yeah,
was just
mate.
wondering, what do you think of the other camp over there? What does it represent?
They don't really represent anything. They're just here because we are.
Yeah.
There's at most 5 or 6 people there at any given
Yeah.
time. Most of them are empty tents. They're just here to oppose us, and I guess we're here to oppose genocide and go, hey, stop making weapons.
Yeah.
They want us to stop doing that. So
Yeah.
they're...
What do you think they are standing for on that side?
Well, what they're saying they're standing for is a safe place for Jewish people and opposing anti-Semitism, but half of our organisers are Jewish.
Yes.
This is not an anti-Semitic camp. So what the foundation of what they've set their camp up on as is a lie.
Yeah, interesting. What do you guys think, what would you like to see long-term in the conflict? A 2-state solution? A 1-state solution?
I don't know, man. 2 Palestines is a bit much, but it'll do, I guess. Palestine is the only state that should be there. Ideally, no state. States and nations are inherently corrupt and classist.
Right.
But a free Palestine is required before that happens.
What do you think should happen to the people already living there on the Israeli side?
Same thing that happened to white South Africans when their apartheid regime dismantled. Same thing that happens with every land back movement that's successful.
Yeah.
They'll either leave or they'll just live in Palestine. There has never been in history a land back movement that has flipped the dynamic and just done the genocide to the oppressors. It's never happened.
And
Never.
It won't happen.
It won't happen.
It's not how it works.
And also with the 2-state solution, it's not feasible. Netanyahu's expanded so far into the West Bank with very violent Israeli settlers, right? They will turn on their own government if they have to.
Yeah.
This is the 2-state solution.
Yeah.
So-
This is it.
You need one democratic state. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And they have the picture of the hostages up, which is stupid because
what
Hamas has offered ceasefire deals with
Yeah,
all the hostages, and Netanyahu's declined every single one of them.
Yeah. What do you think should happen with the hostages?
Well, ideally, they should be used as hostages are used in conflicts. They should be traded for peace deals, used...
Yeah.
Obviously, hostage taking is never good, but it's a necessary aspect of conflict.
Of course, you
And-
sometimes have to take hostages.
They, were taken 1,000 hostages, I think is the number. It's less now because they've revised to be more accurate.
Do you think there should be an age limit on hostages? Like,
100%. For every...
do you think, some people might be too young to be taken as hostage?
Yeah, there's the moral issue of that, but for every Israeli child that's been a hostage, there's 1,000 Palestinian children that are hostage.
So it is justified,
Justified's the wrong word, but the violence of the oppressed and the violence of a resistance group is necessary violence, and it is the fault of the oppressor.
So
every hostage taken is Israel's fault.
Interesting. So what do you think about Hamas? Do you support their right to resist?
100%. It's the International Court of Justice supports their right to resist.
Right,
it's in accordance with international law.
Yeah.
As well
would
as
you
moral
like
law.
Would you like to see Palestine ruled by Hamas after? No.
No, but Hamas is better than Israel. I want Hamas to succeed in their resistance movement.
Yeah.
But
And what does that mean? Like, for example, what do you think about October 7? Do you think October 7 was justified?
Well, terrorism is a loaded word as it's been used.
Yeah.
The terrorist attack of Hamas on October 7th was largely targeted to military personnel. The civilians that were killed, according to every witness statement, every footage that was there, were killed by the IDF. They were the ones that killed the Israelis.
So Hamas didn't kill anyone on October 7. That was a civilian?
People died in the crossfire. It was not their targets. And the actual casualties show that.
Have you seen the footage where they killed innocent people at the Nova Music Festival, though?
I've seen that footage.
Yeah.
Most of the innocent casualties there were from IOF or IDF bullets.
What does IOF mean?
IOF is Israeli Occupational Forces.
Oh, okay.
Because IDF stands for Defense Forces. They're not defending shit.
Yeah,
They're an occupying army.
They're an occupying army. So, you support, for example, what they did on October 7 when they took people to, sort of trade terms?
Support's the wrong word, but they are the oppressed in the situation.
I see why they do this.
You see why they did it?
If Israel didn't want retaliatory violence, if they didn't want to be attacked, they shouldn't have oppressed the Palestinian people.
Right.
You can't lock people in a concentration camp and then get upset when they fight.
Children as well, right? They saw their parents getting killed, right? When you're raised with that, it's going to breed extremism and hatred. And that's why Hamas exists, right?
Oh God, if I lived in Palestine, I'd be a terrorist. They've killed.
Would you join Hamas? Would you join Hamas if you could?
Probably, if I lived in Palestine. Me now, no.
Yes.
But I haven't experienced that. If I had experienced what they experienced, 100% I'd join Hamas.
Yeah.
If I experienced my kid being killed, right? Or like my parents getting orphaned at a young age,
Yeah.
seeing my land taken away from me, you know,
Yeah.
being blockaded, not able to leave, no clean water and stuff. Of course, I'd like get extreme and radical. You know?
Yeah.
But me now, of course not, because I haven't gone through their
I
experience.
was interested. So some people in New York City, they were protesting and they were chanting, "Bomb, bomb, bomb, Tel Aviv." What do you think of that slogan?
It's a violent one, but the Zionists are chanting to raise Gaza. Like,
Yeah.
The bombing of Tel Aviv is a retaliatory attack. Obviously, it
Yeah.
shouldn't happen, and it's not happening. Like, it's an unrealistic thing to happen.
Do
The
you-
sentiment of it is retaliatory violence.
Right,
against
yeah.
oppression.
Do you?
Same thing that would have been bomb Berlin during the 40s. Like,
Yeah,
it
right.
sucks. Civilians are going to die,
Yeah.
but it's not the people bombing Berlin's fault that they're getting bombed.
What would be like kind of a justified amount of civilians to kill in order to liberate Palestine?
It's as many as necessary. Resistance
Yeah.
is always necessary because
Yeah.
it's an inevitable fact of oppression.
Yes. Yes.
People are gonna die until Palestine is free. It's
Right.
not something
So
that you
if-
can make here's the line. It's
Yeah.
Palestinians are gonna fight until they're liberated.
Yeah.
So Israel
So-
gets to decide how many people die before that happens.
Right. Okay. So if Hamas were to kill like 100,000 Israelis, like in order to liberate Palestine, you would accept that?
That's not ever happened historically. It's
Yeah.
not happened with any land back movement.
Yeah. Never. Algeria?
It didn't happen in the way that that's being described.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just like, a lot of people died, but it was militants.
Yeah.
Just civilian
Do you think-
massacres didn't happen.
Do you think Jews have a right to live in Israel, in Palestine, Israel?
Yeah, Jewish people have a right to live there, but,
Yeah, but not
Jewish
Zionists.
Palestinians. Zionists have no right to Israel.
Yeah.
Israel has no right to exist.
So the Jews who live there can live there as long as they don't support Zionism.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Zionism has no place in Palestine.
Right.
Israel has no right to exist.
It's a settler colonial movement.
Right, I get you. So if 80... There have been some polls, for example, that say that 70-80% of the Israeli population are Zionists. Would you be fine with clearing out 70-80% of people?
Not clearing out, but I would hope like programs for de-radicalization.
Re-education?
Yeah.
Re-education, but
How would you re-educate people?
they can either fuck off or learn empathy. Like, it's not
Yeah. Yeah.
There was mass support for the Nazis in Germany.
Yeah.
There was none of that
Denazification.
arguments of how many people are you willing to kill before Hitler's. Like, that's
So you've got to denazify Israeli society.
basically.
Yeah, yeah.
It's obviously a different hate system.
Would
Zionism
you-
is Nazism.
Yeah,
So in like
it's
the
not-
same
it's
way
not
that like
comparable. It's not-
in like the same way that like say for example Putin denazifying Ukraine right now, like would you support?
Putin's not doing that.
Yeah,
Right.
He's not doing that, and that's a disingenuous take on that war.
Yeah. So what do you think about like Ukraine and other issues like that?
Ukraine has a right to defend itself.
They have a right to defend themselves, but it's
Yeah.
a very different issue. They are not
Yeah.
the victims of a genocide. They are the
Ukrainians
victims
aren't a
of,
victim of genocide?
not in this current conflict.
Yeah.
There have been Ukrainian genocides. This current conflict is not a genocide. It's a war because there are two opposing militaries.
Yeah.
They are the victims of imperialism. Russian
Yeah.
imperialism is encroaching on their borders, but that's
Yeah.
not genocide.
What do you guys think about like the Houthis in Yemen?
Houthis in Yemen, they are completely justified in their defense of
Yeah.
Palestine. They
Yeah.
have actually made a point of specifically targeting Israeli vessels and
Yeah.
Israeli ships. Very limited civilian deaths have happened.
Yeah. So you
a bit
support
of-
the Houthis?
That is a disingenuous thing of what I just said. I said
Yeah.
I support their actions against Israel.
Okay,
I don't
yeah,
support the Houthis
yeah.
as an organization.
Okay. So like, are you aware, for example, that they've got the term "curse the Jews" in their logo?
100%. I'm aware of that.
But
I
you still-
disapprove of it. I don't support the Houthis
Yeah.
as an organization.
We just said we don't support the
Yeah.
Houthis.
But critical support in going against Israel, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going
What-
against Israel, look,
What do you think about like the Iranian government and their resistance to
Fuck
Israel?
them.
fuck the Iranian government.
Yeah.
It's good that they retaliated against the bombing of their embassy. Like, Israel is the greater of the two evils, but the
Yeah.
Iranian government is still an evil force. Like,
Right. But would you support, like, say, like Iran, like militarily attacking Israel?
Depends how they do it. If they do it the
Yeah.
same way Israel's attacking Gaza, no, I would not support that. If they attack it as they have been, of appropriate use of force, then
Yeah.
sure,
And
go
in
against Israel.
retaliation for the bombing of their embassy.
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
bombed first. It's Israel fucked around and found out.
Fucked around and found out. Yeah. What do you say to people who say that Hamas committed rape on October 7th?
I say it's, one, unsubstantiated. All news
Yeah.
accounts that have said it have recanted that story.
Yeah.
Whether it happened or not, it's an atrocity.
Yep.
It is not a uniquely Hamas crime to do. There have been
Yeah.
recorded instances in this conflict of IDF soldiers raping Palestinian women
Yep.
and making their families watch them do so. So if Hamas did it, that sucks. That's an atrocity. But it is not a uniquely evil thing that Hamas has done. It's an aspect of conflict. It's atrocious.
Yeah.
But it's not something you can uniquely condemn Hamas for doing.
Okay, I understand. What do you think should happen to Zionists living in Australia?
There shouldn't be... We have free speech. They shouldn't be locked up or anything. There shouldn't be violence against them, but Zionism as an ideology, much like white supremacy, much like transphobia, much like Nazism, should not be welcome in society. Their rhetoric shouldn't be accepted in common dialogue, but they do have the right to it, and we shouldn't lock them up or abuse them or assault them for it. But they don't have a right to hate speech. That's not a right that is protected in Australia, and Zionism is hate speech because it is white supremacy. Yes,
okay. I'm just interested, are you aware, for example, of the term Mizrahi Jews?
Yes, I am.
Yep.
Yeah, so like Ben Gvir, for example. I hate Ben Gvir. I think he's racist, but he's not a white supremacist in the sense that he's actually from Iraq. He's Kurdish.
That means nothing for whether you're a white supremacist or not.
Right.
The majority of white supremacists are actually not white people. Like, white supremacy isn't you are white and you think you're better, it's you think whiteness is inherently better. But like, you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist.
Right, okay. Like, for example, half the IDF are Mizrahi Jews from like the Middle East, North Africa, kicked out of their homes in Iraq, Iran, Tunisia. Like, these aren't white people. So like, I mean, it might be racism, but could you say it's white? Could you say that Israel is a white supremacist state when half the population of Israel is not even white?
Yes, 100%, because the majority of the population of South Africa wasn't white, but they were a white supremacist nation. White supremacy has nothing to do with the colour of the actual people committing it. It's about what the ideology actually is and the impacts of that ideology. White supremacy is inherently rooted in colonialism. Any colonial project is inherently a white supremacist project that has happened in history. Yeah. Sure, there could be a non-white supremacist colonial project. Hasn't happened yet. Israel is no different. White supremacy doesn't have to come from a white place. It just has to be rooted in the ideas of Western hegemony and Western superiority against the world.
So what do you say to the argument that it's the problem is the Israeli government, not Israeli society? So like some people, for example, like liberal Zionists might say, we hate Netanyahu, we hate Ben Gvir, we want a change of government in Israel, but we still believe that Israel has a right to exist.
That's inherently Zionist and is inherently a colonial ideology. Like, there have been protests against Netanyahu and the current Israeli government. They aren't protesting for a free Palestine. They're protesting for a different approach to the leveling of Gaza. So, like, you would say, what proportion of Israeli society would you say is, like, guilty of the crimes that are being committed right now? Every single Israeli civilian is guilty of colonialism because they're all active settlers on Palestinian land. So what do you think should be done to people who are active settlers on Palestinian land who are guilty? The settlement should be abolished. We've already said this. The apartheid regime should be abolished. The settlement should no longer exist. It should go back to Palestinian hands. Would you say that there are no civilians in Israel? I would go as far as that. A settler is not a civilian. So for example, like if Hamas were to attack Israeli civilians, you would say that's okay because they're not civilians, they're settlers, they're part of the colonial regime. I wouldn't say it's okay, I would say it's justified though because they are the oppressive regime. Yeah, okay. What were your names, guys? Are you UQ students? Yeah, UQ students. Yeah, okay. Well, it's good to talk to you. Thank you for that. I'm just a student journalist at UQ. Yeah, all good. Yeah, thanks guys. Have a good one.